So sorry I had to run. This will be part 2. I had to go somewhere on a Sunday morning. Who would have thought? But the idea of the two extremes, I definitely recognize, as you can tell from the first one, that there are other religions. Actually, the more orthodox forms of pretty much any religion always wind up being more respectful because they don't go into the fanaticism unless they're born from their conception like that. But even if they are, they usually mellow out with time. Or the ones that are quote-unquote liberal, where it's, if they actually believe the message, then why this idea of being ecumenical, of, for instance, I saw somebody write, they were talking about Roman Catholicism, they were Roman Catholic, said the Catholic Church needs to focus less on doctrine and dogma and teaching, and more on getting all the Protestants back into the Catholic Church and ending the East-West Schism. And it's not only because I love Eastern Orthodoxy and don't want to see it corrupted. I recognize the value of Roman Catholicism, and I don't want to see that destroyed too. Of, let's break down every possible barrier so we get down to what everybody believes, nothing precious, nothing sacred, nothing, this pan belief system, which everybody fears is going to be the Antichrist or whatever, but there's always been people trying to push that, and it will never come. People seeing the Antichrist everywhere. The Antichrist, as if there's one of them, like they conflate all these things together. But there's a beautiful video by Allison Joy talking about her experience in church, and I would highly recommend anybody to watch that. And she uses the word conservative, but she talks about how people, these converts from Anglicanism or Protestantism, upset with their church going into what's known as liberalism today, come to the Orthodox Church and are shocked that we are not conservative to their liking, But we are conservative. It's the firebrand, hate-filled people that are the wackos, that are the extreme. The church didn't look like that in the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, not even in the Middle Ages. It didn't look like that. Many people try to paint it that way, but it didn't. In many ways, they were a lot more rational than we are today, and a lot more compassionate. I think that's something that we tend to overlook. We will exonerate every other society and culture, but then when we look at Europe, especially non-Anglo-Saxon Europe, there's a tendency in America to look down on it and think, oh, what can we learn from those people, as if we were so high and mighty. Going into relativism, you can't respect anybody, and going into some narcissistic clique isn't respectful either. They're both that you couldn't ever understand. The honest, faithful believer, I'll put that in quotes, from a ancient tradition, can understand and have more respect for, and usually is more respected by the others from that. The Buddhists, who are actually Buddhists, who come from Buddhist families, who that's part of their culture, I love and respect them. And that blends, I've seen the blending of that and evangelicalism and paganism and just destroys it. The discipline is all run out. There's no discipline. Islam, Sufism, right? There's a lot of beauty in Sufism, but or Sufism, I should say. But there are people in America that want to say, well, I'm Sufi, but I'm not Muslim. Even though that the Muslims who are Sufi, they first had to, pray the 5 daily prayers, believe in the pillars of Islam. I believe it's more Shia, but you know what I'm talking about. There's more, Sufis are more Shia than Sunni, and I think at least the mosque that I came from, I'll just say mosque, would never, I don't think they would have recognized the Sufis, but same thing with Kabbalah. You have to be at least 40 years old. The tenets of the religion already have to be adhered to before you go off into this mystical thing, because there's more bearings and more groundings, and it actually means something. It's like fasting and then eating the Pascha, fasting all through Lent, the 72 or how many 70 something days, and then on Pascha when you feast, it really means something. But if you've been being gluttonous all along, it doesn't mean anything. Living the disciplined life of any tradition there's beauty in that. And when you see these magnanimous sayings of compassion, it actually means something. Just like if somebody were to live a completely licentious life and the other things that people did didn't bother them, would that be really a show of, compassion, or just not caring? But when you see somebody who is strict and, strict with their sexual morality, strict with their personal character, strict with their obedience to their tradition, then being totally compassionate and not judging somebody else, you could see bigger beauty in that. Well, one side wants to strip completely down tradition or just base it off of something narcissistic. And I think it eventually turns people narcissistic, these types of outrageous, Bible only, listen to the preacher, and the preacher's almost over the Bible, and then the congregations that think all those people in the past were just so stupid. They just didn't get. We know better now. We have modern science and stuff like that. And even though there's with traditions, science is not a factor in it. If something proved one way or another, if an atom has so many electrons or neutrons, it's not going to factor into the tradition. Whereas the Orthodox Jew, the Eastern Orthodox Christian, the serious practicing Roman Catholic, even the honest Lutheran or the traditionalist Buddhist can look across at each other, even the devout Hindu, and see respect, like they actually mean what they say and say what they mean. And they may, as much as they may screw up, they still hold to these things and just don't throw them out. They're not disrespectful to their ancestry. And usually those people are usually more respectful and have more care for their families and everything like this. A lot of times when I say Orthodox, people think, it's like the Amish or something, or it's fanatical, it's fundamentalist, which again, fundamentalist and liberal. I don't believe either of one of those are that. I don't believe liberal is a bad word, and fundamentalist actually I guess fundamentalist was coined by that Democrat representative that went around and wrote The Fundamentals of Christianity, that book series, who argued against evolution and all this kind of stuff. So I guess that's appropriate. But yeah, Ellison Joy talks about this. People come in to the Orthodox Church and they think, it should be stricter than anything in the world, and we have economia and compassion. And if somebody is, homosexual and they're not, engaging in a lot of these acts or anything, or, you know, making it constantly talking about being gay and this and that, if they're just, okay, I'm a Christian, just like you guys. I believe in the baptism and the Eucharist, and I believe what you believe. Your internal struggles don't matter, right? It's not a thing of judging. So while they strive, let them, they run their own race, and I'll help them however I can. But this harsh, you know, trying to get into everybody's business about, well, what, you know, what's your particular sin? To some degree, that's human nature, but to another degree, I don't think people see it. It's conditioning. It becomes the norm, or it becomes something good of you know, it's really strange. The second video, I'm really not hitting point on it, but hopefully there was something good in there, and I did explain myself correctly, but at least I'm telling you to go check out her video, because it's fantastic. And you know, I think I'm just going to start sending it to people. Take it easy, peace to you, may God save Serbia, Syria, and Ireland. The two extremes. I definitely recognize, as you can tell from the first one, that there are other religions. Actually, the more orthodox forms of pretty much any religion always wind up being more respectful, because they don't. So sorry I had to run. This will be part 2. I had to go somewhere on a Sunday morning. Who would have thought? But the idea of, it's not only because I love Eastern Orthodoxy and don't want to see it corrupted. I recognize the value of Roman Catholicism, and I don't want to see that destroyed too. Of, let's break down every possible barrier, so we get down to what everybody believes, nothing going to the fanaticism, unless they're born from their conception like that. But even if they are, they usually mellow out with time. Or the ones that are quote-unquote liberal, where it's, if they actually believe the message, then why this idea of being ecumenical, of, you know, for instance, I saw somebody write, you know, they were talking about Roman Catholicism, they were Roman Catholic, said the Catholic Church needs to focus less on what is it, doctrine and dogma and teaching, and more on getting all the Protestants back into the Catholic Church and ending the East-West schism. And